So, look, let me start out by thanking the staff here. Staff, I want you to hear this. Great service and a great meal. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Let's throw hands together to them. And I want to thank Sean for doing a great job emceeing this event. Sean, you're always invited to any of my fundraisers. If you want, you can MC those events. You know, when things aren't moving along quite right, you just talk about nothing at all and people seem interested. So that's a great skill. You should go into politics. Oh, come on now. If I can't laugh at myself, who can we laugh at? It is a pleasure to be here. I'm particularly pleased that we've got some other elected officials here. Randy Camp, great to see you here, Randy, and Mayor Tebby, James, great to see you all the time. I tell you, I am really proud of the fact that we have such a great working relationship with different levels of government. And the feds have been excellent to work with, and we've made some real progress, and we very much appreciate that. And James has been just fantastic as the Mayor of Mission. I think he's a great advocate for the community, and certainly a great advocate for working with the Provincial Ministry of Transportation to try and get things done for the benefit of folks in this area. And of course, Randy Hawes is a great MLA, and Randy couldn't be here today, but I know that, well, frankly, you should know that a lot of the things that get done here are because Randy's putting me in my office all the time, and that's probably an effective way of getting things done, because I haven't got time to have Randy constantly harping at me about Logie Highway and all the other things he wants fixed, so it's better to just fix them and then he goes away. So anyhow, he would have loved to have been here, but it's great to see such great turnout, and thank you for inviting me back. And today I want to talk about a few things that I think are important. I want to talk about what's happening in BC now, what's going to be happening in the future, and what that's going to mean for all of you folks. But I think it's important to think about what's happening now. I woke up this morning and I'm reading again. We're all seeing the financial turmoil that's taking place in the marketplaces. That kind of instability is unsettling, to say the least. But I also look at that and I think to myself, never has it been more important, and I want to underscore this, never has it been more important to make sure that we have steady hands on the tiller economically at all levels of government. I think that is very important. And I can tell you, when I first ran for office in 2001, and we were fortunate enough to be elected with a very large mandate, one of the things we wanted to try and do was to take BC's economy, which at that time was ranked 10th out of 10 provinces in the country, and try and restore it back to fiscal stability and credibility, get the economy moving to get to where we are today. And today where we are, fortunately, is a lot better. We're tied for economic growth with Alberta as the #1 performing economy in the country. And we've got challenges still, but they're kind of the better challenges, the challenges that were referenced by the gentleman from the United Way that talked about how difficult it is to find employees. Well, I can tell you, in the 90s, the challenge was people finding work. And today the challenge is work looking for people. And frankly, I'd rather deal with those challenges than the former. So I think that we have a situation now where I think that in British Columbia and in Canada, we are in very good shape compared to some of the challenges they're facing south of the border. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be a ripple effect that could come across the border. Clearly there could be. But I can tell you, I sure like the position we're in BC right now. We've got the lowest corporate tax rate in the country. We've got the second lowest personal income tax rate in the country behind Alberta, which is slightly ahead of us. Actually, they're ahead of us only in the very top level of income. But if you're folks that are earning anywhere from $111,000 or less in British Columbia, which is most people, you are paying the lowest personal income tax rates in the country. And that, I believe, is actually an economic development plan, because we need to continue to have a low tax, low regulatory environment that will encourage you folks in the business community to continue to make investments, to continue to have confidence as we move things forward. But I don't want to pretend it's not going to be some challenging times. But what I will hope to get across to you folks today is that we have an economic vision in this province. And we've always had one, the Premier's always had one. We also have a transportation vision, and they're both linked. They are linked because in British Columbia, how our economy performs is directly related to how well our transportation system is functioning. It is directly related, because we are, at the end of the day, in British Columbia, a small, open trading province. and how well we move the $80 billion worth of goods in and out of this province every year will be directly related to how well we are going to be doing economically and financially. And it's something that the Premier has never forgotten, and certainly something that I'm trying very hard to execute for the benefit, frankly, not just of our generation, but for our children's generation. And that's the other point I want to make before I show you a little movie here, is that historically in British Columbia, we've had some great leaders in the past, as you know. I think of W.A.C. Bennett and the vision that he had in terms of transportation and dams and investments that were what I call generational investments. Investments that we continue to enjoy and reap the benefits today. Bill Bennett with the building of the Coquihalla Highway, same thing. Those are generational investments that I think pay dividends for generations to come. But I think we lost sight, to be honest with you. I don't think there was that same sense of the importance of investing in infrastructure to ensure that our next generation will enjoy all the benefits that we enjoyed as a result of decisions that were made before us. And so I looked around the Lower Mainland when I became the Minister of Transportation, and I said, well, the last major piece of infrastructure that was built in the Lower Mainland was, who wants to guess? That's right, it's the Alex Fraser Bridge in 1986. And the population since 1986 has grown by almost 800,000 people. So here we are, the population rapidly growing. We are going to see another 1 million people moving into the Lower Mainland in the next 20 years, and we are relying on infrastructure in which the last major piece was built over 20 years ago. Clearly not acceptable. It's not going to work for the dreams that you have in Mission in the region. It's not going to work for anyone south of the Fraser, frankly, that's looking at very fast-growing communities that are facing almost transportation gridlock. So we needed to think about that, but we also needed to think about what was happening in the world. And what's happening in the world is a huge shift taking place. The trade patterns used to be historically sort of a European North American trade pattern. But what we're seeing now is a shift to an Asia North American trade pattern. The growth of China, East Asia, South Asia has enormous implications for British Columbia and Canada, most of them very positive. But we have to capitalize on those. Those will not be benefits that accrue to us unless we are prepared to understand the changes that are taking place in the world and make sure we invest to take advantage of those changes. And we call that Canada's Pacific Gateway. And we sat down with the federal government, we said, you know what, this is an opportunity for Canada. British Columbia happens to be fortunate because we have this unique position that no other province has. And that is our real estate, our geography. We are the closest piece of real estate to Asia. We are the first stop. If you're shipping from Asia to North America, the first place you hit is British Columbia. And that is a geographic advantage that affords us some real benefits if we're prepared to take advantage of them. And taking advantage of them means we have to do more than talk about it. Politicians, frankly, we're good at talking about stuff. We've got to make sure we're also good at executing things. And that's something that I want to chat with you about today. But what I want to do, if we have the opportunity to dim the lights for a moment, I'm not sure if there's a light. Maybe that would be great. If you could, just for about 4 minutes, I'm going to show a little movie. It's going to give you a little update on what's happening around the province, because I think, frankly, visually, you can understand what's going on a lot better than me talking about different projects, and then I'll just continue on with my comments.
British Columbia is Canada's Pacific Gateway. Our transportation system is a critical link in the international supply chain. It creates jobs in our communities and supplies goods that we use at home every day. From ports and airports to railways, roads and bridges, we're moving ahead with the biggest transportation system expansion in provincial history.
The bridge is over 400 meters long, almost 90 meters high.
Safe and reliable, our new roads and bridges connect world-class scenery and challenging terrain. These stunning new structures transport not only vehicles, but also the imagination nation. All who travel these roads and spans will marvel at what they see. Those who look beyond the concrete and steel will experience even more. They'll be awed by the engineering innovations that let these roads go places few highways ever will. They'll imagine the massive effort required to send these roads soaring over canyons and lakes and winding through mountains.
We have a lot of equipment, a lot of stuff to maintain, working around the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
This is the 10 rock range 800. We're going to go through solid rock at a rate of about 100 to 140 feet per hour.
This is Newton's cut, our main crushing area. We crush approximately 120 truckloads a day.
We are using roller precast elements for his sky highway job.
Barriers, bridge decks, we're right beside the railway line. We can ship it to wherever it needs to go.
People will feel safer knowing that they are traveling on roadways constructed to some of the world's most exacting safety standards.
When we do the stress test on the acres, we have to test every single one.
And they'll appreciate the painstaking precautions taken to protect the environment.
We're at Beacon Creek Culvert Extension on Highway 99. We're salvaging the fish and removing them from harm's way.
At any bridge site, fresh concrete needs to be treated because the pH is much too high. They collect any runoff, they treat it, it can then be released into the environment.
Right here we have an animal passageway, an animal on the side. We're able to cross into the highway and get back into the wetland.
People will also recognize the dedication that has kept all these projects ahead of schedule. And they'll see the value of traffic management that has kept cars and trucks moving all along.
We're a few weeks ahead on schedule, and we have a good planning with all the engineers and superintendents.
It's just organization, making sure everything's running smoothly.
New Bridge will have 5 lanes to provide improved access both to the city of Kelowna and to West Bank. And it also has a fixed elevated conductor at the west end here that will provide unrestricted passage to the vessels underneath.
People who understand the vision and planning behind these projects will see them not merely as sections of roadway, but as part of a gateway to a prosperous future and a way to welcome the world in 2010 and beyond. But perhaps the most amazing thing is that everyone who travels these roads will be talking about them and their builders for generations to come.
Okay, well, thank you. So what you see there is investments that are being made across the province as part of a larger vision. And I'll tell you what the Pacific Gateway means to the country. I think it is very significant. You'll recall back in the 50s, there was an investment called the St. Lawrence Seaway. And the St. Lawrence Seaway was really about the government of the day recognizing that trade patterns were increasing in Europe, North America, and they wanted to invest to ensure that Canada, Eastern Canada in particular, benefited from those trade flows. And that's what the St. Lawrence Seaway was all about. And in today's dollars, that was about a $6 billion investment. But that was an investment that paid off for generations, still pays off, for the entire country. And the Canada's Pacific Gateway is about that too. We've got working together very closely, Randy, with yourself and the federal government. We are identifying the investments that need to be made. The government put $1 billion into their federal Pacific Gateway Fund. The province is putting multiple billions of dollars to leverage on that federal investment to make sure that we also make the kind of infrastructure investments that will ensure that we benefit from the change in trade patterns. And I can tell you it's an investment that's being noticed, and it's an investment that will make a difference for the future of all of us. Because when British Columbia is strengthened, the entire country is actually strengthened. Just as the St. Lawrence Seaway strengthened the entire country, so will Canada's Pacific Gateway. So that's why we're making those investments. And they can range anywhere from, Randy, how much did you guys put into the Abbotsford Airport? We put in $4.5 million. I think the federal government kicked in. I forget, they're multi-millions of dollars. But the point is, whether it's airports, or whether it's port investment, or whether it's road investment, or rail investment, what we're doing is sitting down and working with all the parties to make sure that we coordinate the investments, that we change policy where we need to change policy, so that we become a reliable gateway, a gateway that is one that can be counted on. And we take advantage of, as I say,